The Galactic Panspecies Academy didn't believe in humility. It was carved into its walls literally in 7 languages. We forge the future of the stars. They didn't just train soldiers here, they shaped legends. And among the towering quad-limbed officers, scaled scholars, and floating tacticians, a single Terran cadet stepped off the shuttle with a plain black duffel and a thermal jacket too light for the air conditioning. Her name blinked on the arrival log: ASTRA-MORENO species, human origin, Earth Terran Deathworld Class IV clearance, civil military exchange. She looked around, calm but unimpressed. The Varnak beside her snorted. Another one from the joke world. The F-Salic to his left joined in, surprised she made it through atmosphere without catching fire. They laughed quietly. She didn't flinch, didn't even blink. Within 2 hours she was processed. Vitals logged, reflexes scanned. She ranked mid-tier in strength, bottom third in size, and dead average in psi resistance. The alien cadet smirked, but then came the hazard assessment. A silent test. No announcement. No prep. The sim loaded a randomized scenario. Poisoned oxygen, low pressure, sub-zero temperatures, unpredictable tectonics. Astra didn't blink at the flashing alert. She sealed the breach, diverted O2 through a makeshift filter, rigged thermal containment with a food wrapper and a heat canister, and found shelter before the timer hit 3 o'clock. Instructor notes appeared on screen. High priority survival index, immediate procedural improvisation, human reflex pre-trained, no panic response. She ranked top 1%. The smirks faded. That night in the dining bay, the whispers began again. Sure, humans are tricky, but they're soft. Deathworld, it's a label, no way it's literal. She looks like she'd cry if you scratched her. Astra sat alone, not out of shyness. By choice. Next day, combat evaluation. She entered the sim unarmed, outclassed by mass and reflex speed. Still, she managed 3 dodges, 1 hip redirect, and scored a vital hit before being overwhelmed by a 6-limbed Threx cadet twice her size. She tapped out, stood, nodded. The instructors noted, does not rely on brute force, uses predictive logic and movement economy. The other cadets noted, lucky. They couldn't see the patterns in her footwork. They didn't know she wasn't fighting to win. She was learning how to survive them all. On the 3rd day, the climate hazard seminar began. Instructor Kelleran, a Kravari veteran, stood tall before the crowd. Today we'll study extreme planetary threats. Let's start with volcanism. He gestured to the board. Examples flashed across the screen. Lava storms on Sindura, plasma eruptions on Mavir Delta, acid geysers on the Vral moons. Then came discussion. Cadets boasted of what their species had endured. On Varnak Prime, the sky rains ash for weeks. Our kind swims through sulfur lakes. We survived tectonic compression fields. The room turned to Astra. She hadn't spoken yet all week. Kelleran raised an eyebrow. Earthling, you've been quiet. Any volcanic encounters to add? Astra tilted her head slightly, thinking. Ice volcanoes mostly. Silence. Then chuckles, then laughter. The instructor raised a brow. Ice volcanoes. On Europa, she said, still calm. Jupiter's moon got caught during a training drill. Glacial vent popped early, had to dig in until the pressure dropped. The Varnak was still laughing. You mean to tell us you fled from a puff of snow? Another cadet leaned back. Next you'll say it was raining knives. Astra didn't argue, she just said, well, the vapor did freeze midair, so kind of. Instructor Kelleran didn't laugh. Instead, he tapped into the shared server and pulled up the Terran Incident Archive. He searched. Europa Ice Volcanism Training Anomaly. A file opened. Red tagged. Authentic. He read, then froze. His eyes flicked across the details. Atmospheric collapse due to double vent breach. Rapid glacial spike formation. Surface temperature drop. 183 degrees C to 234 degrees C. In under 30 seconds, 1 trainee survivor. Age. 15. Shelter constructed using multi-tool thermal signature camouflage. Body heat redirection outcome. Stable survival for 9.2 hours. Assigned psychological status. Unshaken. Calm. Returned to base requesting cocoa. The laughter died. Even the instructor swallowed. Is this true? Astra nodded. Was part of the orbital youth survival exchange. Everyone in my cohort had to do one planetary hazard drill. Mine just got interesting. The room stayed silent. Instructor Kelleran adjusted his collar, then cleared his throat. We will revisit Europa's ice volcanism next session. Dismissed. No one moved until Astra stood. And as she left the room, her words remained hanging like frost in the air. It's not a big deal. You just have to know when to breathe. Instructor Kelleran didn't sleep that night. He replayed the Europa footage 6 times, once with atmospheric metrics, once with seismic overlays, once without audio because the silence was worse. He couldn't stop staring at the moment when 15-year-old Astra ducked under a jagged ice overhang, activated a broken thermal patch, and scraped out a cavity with nothing but a dull multi-tool and grit. Her vitals never spiked. No panic, no flinching, just calculation. She wasn't brave. She was prepared. That disturbed him more than any screaming hero ever could. The next day, he uploaded the simulation. Europa Class 7 venting hazard scenario, no warning, no explanation, just the assignment. All cadets will run the full scenario. Top survivability score receives Academy honors. The alien cadets signed up eagerly, especially the ones who had mocked her. Finally, something to show off our adaptations. They call this a hazard. Sulfur burns worse than snow. The first to enter was a Varnek cadet named Huleth, wide shoulders, pressure-resistant skin. He lasted 4 minutes. Panic set in the moment the first subsurface quake triggered a glacial spike. He attempted to outrun it. Bad decision. Impaled through the simulated gut. End of run. Next was a Threx, triple-lunged, cold-blooded. He tried to hold still and wait it out. Lasted 6 minutes before cryolock set in. Vitals failed. Brain activity flatlined in simspace. Third was a Xandari female, amphibious, tactician. She tried to use sonar mapping to find a hollow in the ice. The vent ruptured under her. Death by internal frost bloom. Time, 7 minutes, 12 seconds. More cadets tried. Different strategies. None lasted more than 9 minutes. Even the top cold-adapted species. Then it was Astra's turn. She walked into the sim like she was visiting an old friend. No tension in her stride, no wide eyes, just quiet familiarity. The world loaded. A cracked plain of ice under violet sky, frost lightning in the clouds. She scanned the horizon, knew where the venting would happen. Didn't run. Instead, she walked toward the largest ice ridge and knelt down. Used her elbow to test structural depth, chipped slowly with her blade, dug a shallow leaning cavity, used her own heat signature to mask against the cold sensors, then waited. 10 minutes passed. Sim still running. 15. Still alive. The instructor stared. At 25 minutes, Instructor Kelleran manually ended the sim. She stepped out. Calm, not even breathing hard. Could have lasted longer, she said, wiping her face with a towel. But the sim doesn't account for steam reventing. That would have kept me warm. The room was silent. One cadet raised a trembling hand. You've done this before, Astra nodded. Not in a sim. Word spread fast. Not just among cadets, officers, engineers, even the Environmental Hazard Board called for the footage. The simulation was classified as Tier 3 no replication. Too many failures, too many breakdowns, except for one species. One cadet. By the end of the day, a new file was created in the Academy archives. Human Environmental Resilience. Subject ASTRA MORENO Europa Sub-Ice Survival Status. Confirmed. Recommendation. Field Command Evaluation. Do not underestimate based on phenotype. Later that evening, a Threx medic approached her at the hydration station. He was quiet, respectful. You weren't afraid in there? Astra sipped from her bottle, then looked up. No. I just knew the ice wouldn't kill me if I respected it. But you were alone, she nodded. Earth trains us that way. Not everything dangerous is loud. Sometimes it's just cold. Back in the barracks, no one laughed anymore. Some cadets whispered her name with reverence, others called her Ice Walker. One simply left a note on her bunk. "We thought we understood survival. You were born in it." Instructor Kelleran stood before the simulation board, eyes hollow. Behind him, 4 instructors, each from different species, argued in hushed voices. The footage of Astra Morno surviving Europa's vent collapse had triggered more than fascination. It triggered fear. For the first time in Academy history, a cadet had casually survived an environment no other species could tolerate for more than 10 minutes. And not just survived, endured. Kelleran turned to the board and spoke flatly. "Load Earth. Composite hazard scenario. Terrain, random. Conditions mixed. Timeline 12 hours. The AI blinked. "Clarify which Earth event?" "Yes. 12 randomized hazards. 1 rotating simulation. Environmental chaos built from real Terran records. They called it the Gauntlet. And they made every cadet run it. The first attempt started simple. A Xandari group was dropped in simulated forest terrain, humid, dense. Then came the fire, a flash wildfire that jumped 30 meters per second, driven by sudden wind shear. None of them had ever heard of pyrocumulus clouds. They didn't survive long enough to describe them. Second sim, open plains, calm. Then came the supercell, rotating mesocyclone, tornado cluster. Rain wrapped so thick visibility dropped to 0. One cadet was picked up and flung 600 meters before impact. Another suffocated in mud. Third sim. Arctic shelf. Rogue wave. Then black ice collapse. All 6 cadets dead in under 9 minutes. It kept happening. Every time Earth was loaded, even randomized, something unexpected occurred. Frost quakes. Fire devils. Microsleep blizzards. Dry lightning. Venomous fauna. Each hazard on its own would have been survivable, but Earth combined them like a conductor wielding a symphony of extinction. By day 4, instructors stopped laughing. By day 5, they removed scoreboards. And by day 6, the cadets protested. "You're simulating impossible conditions. This violates safety protocol. No species could evolve under this." Instructor Kelleran said nothing. He just activated a video log labeled Amazon Evacuation Drill Rio Event, then he pointed. The footage showed real human children, barely 10 years old, wading through chest-high water while avoiding snakes and down power lines. They moved in pairs, quiet, controlled. No crying, no panic. A girl used a frying pan to paddle. A boy duct-taped a live wire shut. "These are Earthlings," he said. "They weren't running a sim, they were going home." Astra finally spoke during the 7th sim. It was a dust storm scenario, based on Sahara conditions with Martian gravity modifiers. Her alien teammates struggled to anchor themselves. Visibility hit 0. She calmly guided them to the lee side of a cracked formation and dug a windbreak using her elbows and a flat panel. Then, softly, "My uncle taught me this during a desert hike. If you hear the wind scream, don't run. You crouch. You wait, it always passes." They survived that round. She got no medal, just silent stares. A week later, a new order came from above. Galactic Command requested a closed demonstration. Simulation, Earth composite, observer presence. Full, Cadet Astra Morno was assigned lead for a full interspecies squad. The sim began. Jungle. Then flood. Then heat inversion so sharp it boiled the air near the canopy. One alien panicked, ran into open ground. Astra grabbed them, yanked them under a crumbling vehicle frame, pointed to a flickering light on the hillside. "Watch for lightning, it comes sideways here." 12 minutes passed. The team was alive. 17 minutes, still operational. At 32 minutes, one alien turned to her, shaking. "You're not afraid of this?" She looked at him like he'd asked if the sky was blue. "Afraid? This is Earth." When they finished, alive and unbroken, the observers stood without a word. One high-ranking Threx general said softly, "Her planet built her, and it builds them all." Another whispered, "Earth isn't just a death world, it's a training ground." The sim team left quietly. No applause, only reports. The next day, Earth's survival designation was quietly updated from Class IV probable, to Class IV confirmed multi-vector threat level. The highest possible without planetary quarantine. A new phrase spread among the cadets. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't a meme. It was a warning. Never bet against the planet that tries to kill its children every day. The instructors thought they'd seen the worst. They were wrong. After the Earth composite simulations, Command ordered a full archive pull. 3 centuries of climate events, civilian reports, military logs, biological anomalies, everything Earth had endured. And unlike other Deathworlds, defined by 1 or 2 consistent planetary hazards, Earth presented an unstable, rotating hazard cycle. It didn't specialize in killing. It experimented. The first file loaded. Longyearbyen Svalbard freezing incident. A kindergarten locked down as an Arctic microburst dropped temperatures 60 degrees C in under 4 minutes. Children used emergency foil, piled coats over vents, and cuddled in silence for hours. One child read aloud to keep others awake. Survival rate, 100%. The AI flagged the footage as psychological resilience, anomalous. The second file was worse. Cordillera Flash Flood Military Training Zone, a squad of young soldiers was caught mid-drill. No cover. No evac window. They climbed trees, not to survive, but to tie themselves in place so their unconscious teammates wouldn't float away. They sang to stay alert. They sang. Instructor Kelleran closed the video early. Then came the biosection. Fauna, flora, microbial. One report showed a parasite that mimicked water droplets until it entered the skin. Another, a wasp that laid eggs in living hosts and had been defeated with vinegar and duct tape. A plant that exploded seeds at supersonic speeds, considered beautiful in home gardens. A bacterial colony in Antarctica that consumed metal alloys, now used to clean oil rigs. Earth didn't just kill creatively, it weaponized evolution. The instructors sat in silence as the files kept loading, category after category. Floods, fires, quakes, storms, plagues, each with survivors, each with humans adapting on instinct. They started calling it resilience drift. One Threx instructor whispered, "If this was our world, we'd be extinct." Another, "No wonder they don't panic. Their world trained it out of them." Meanwhile, Astra Morno trained alone, but she no longer sat alone. Cadets approached her hesitantly at first. Some asked questions. Others wanted to run drills with her. She agreed without ego, just nodded and said, "Sure, we'll start with wind, shear, and erratic terrain." "Why?" "Because you don't want your ankles breaking before the rest of you does." She taught quietly how to judge ice by its sound, how to breathe under mud, how to navigate with broken tech and bad light. It wasn't heroism. It was practice. One alien cadet, a sensitive species from the fog world Keeles, broke down after failing a flash freeze sim. Astra didn't say much, just handed him tea and sat beside him while he cried. Then softly, "We're not stronger. We're just used to losing. You learn to live with the idea that survival means adapting after." The cadets started calling her Instructor Astra even though she wore no rank. Command noticed. A memo circulated. Human cadet demonstrates multi-species leadership indicators. Request accelerated officer evaluation. The response from Earth Command was brief. Deny. Let her finish. She's not done learning. The Academy's curriculum changed quietly. A new course was added. Earth Studies Survival, Psychology, and Adaptation. First lecture title, How to Breathe Under Fire, Water, Ice, and Pressure. Astra didn't teach it, but the entire course was based on her records. By the end of the month, Earth's reputation had flipped. No more jokes, no more smirks. Cadets now requested Terrans as squad leaders. Alien instructors began citing human case studies in survival tactics. And for the first time in galactic history, Earth was given a dual label. DATHWORLD Class IV Priority Adaptive Species. Human Terran, no announcement, no ceremony, just a quiet understanding. Earth didn't raise monsters. It raised witnesses to adversity. And one of them, barely out of training, had taught the galaxy that a survival instinct wasn't something you were born with. It was something you bled for.